Hello and welcome to Who Is Best, a show where I look into games that give you choices and rate those choices in a tier list. Star Ocean First Departure R is a remake of a PSP remake of an SNES title that never left Japan. The Star Ocean series has become a staple among RPG fans, but this was mainly due to the second game being released on the PS1. Today, we'll be taking a look at the remake of this original gem and rating the 13 possible party members of Star Ocean First Departure R. Now, the Star Ocean games have always given you party members according to in-game choices. In later titles, the decisions made that determine which characters you will receive are telegraphed, and because of this, give you some warning. Star Ocean First Departure is not like that. You can straight up completely miss characters with a single choice, and late game choices can even take party members out of your party permanently. So a tier list gets interesting because the usefulness of one character may be up there, but if it's at the expense of a much better character to have them in the party, that may push them lower on this list. One other note, this game is not difficult, but it can be tedious, especially the long magic animations that repeat non-stop. Luckily, the best parties contain the physical attackers over magical ones, so keep that in mind in your playthrough. Oh, and don't forget to stick around until the end of this list where we'll reveal the best party for your playthrough. And if you're new to the channel, why don't you hit that subscribe button and bell for more RPG goodness. I am currently playing through and beating every PS2 RPG. Check out my in-depth retrospectives after this video. We'll start with the tier. Ronix is the fearless space captain and absolute worst character in Star Ocean 1. First, he is a mage, which makes him a less ideal character, but on top of that, he's an offensive only mage, which means that any utility and usefulness goes out the window. Not only can characters like Joshua, Aeris, and Millie do around the same damage, but they can also heal, buff, and debuff. On top of this, his equipment is lousy for your magic stat, and despite having a long-range attack, he struggles to do absolutely anything useful. Welsh is a new character exclusive to the remake, and you would think that would mean that she was, good. Well, it doesn't. Welsh is weak statistically, and her arts are just plain terrible. Sure, her physical attacks are quick and can stall enemies, but aside from that, she's more of a fun Easter egg than anything worth putting in your party. The low tier. Ashley made it out of the tier due to having some of the best stats in the game and giving Roddick one of the best attacks in the game. What holds him back is his lackluster arts, which are all worse versions of other physical attackers, and the fact that you have to give up on Caius in order to recruit him, which Caius is all around a much better party member. He'll be useful early on when you first recruit him, but the only late game usefulness you will have for him is to teach Roddick Worm King. Joshua is much better than Ronix when it comes to magical damage and support, but he is outpaced by every other mage in the game. He'll be a mid-game party member at best, but in the endgame, Aeris' superior everything and Millie's utility will just snuff out anything Joshua has to offer. The final member of the low tier is Fia. With the correct circumstances, Fia can actually reach the levels of characters like Caius and Ilya, but there are a lot of barriers in her way. First, she is in the tier if you recruit her early on in the game because she won't learn her key skills. Fia's terror attacks are incredible and will not be learned unless she is recruited in the later half. Unfortunately, even with her terror moves, she is just simply outpaced by Caius, Roddick, and Ilya in the late game. The mid tier. Parisi is an interesting case for a party member. I feel like she's almost a great addition, and with a few fundamental tweaks to her character, she could have been an absolute powerhouse. Parisi is fast and can attack fairly often. She is also perfect at interrupting enemy attacks. Throw on power-wide buffs and you have a decent support character. If she only had some damage potential and her specials weren't so long, I think you would have had, at minimum, a top-tier party member. Tanique suffers a similar fate to Parisi. He's not amazing at anything, but I wouldn't say he has any glaring flaws as well. He's fast but lacks high damage, and at the end of the day, he's your basic jack of all trades. not accelerating at any one thing, but having an okayish ability to perform in pretty much all areas. The final member of the mid-tier is Caius. Caius has incredible offensive damage and the highest HP stat in Star Ocean First Departure. Sure, his defense is low, but when you have more HP than any other character, that doesn't seem like too much of an issue. No, the main reason you wouldn't want him as a party member is that there are severe consequences for recruiting him. First, if you take him over Ashley, then Roddick doesn't learn his best attack. Second, if you recruit him and not Joshua, then you will not get Mavel. Both of these characters are the best in the game, and if recruiting Caius means missing out on them, then at the end, he's almost not worth it. Alright, let's move on to the top tier. Eris overall might be the third best party member in Star Ocean 1. She'll be the foundation of any optimal team. She has devastating magic attacks that can wipe out both bosses and mobs, as well as the ability to heal. Her AI is half decent at support, and overall, if you're wanting to go the mage route, she just might be the better choice over Millie. Her biggest flaw is that in order to obtain her, you have to give up Mavel. And in no situation is that a better or even equal trade. Ilia has some of the best specials in the game and can be a combo goddess. Next to Parisi, she has the highest evasion and great attack and speed. By the end game, due to speed and combos, there aren't many other characters who can match her in raw damage. If only she had higher stamina and the ability to spam her epic skills. If she could have done this, she just might have landed on the god tier. The final member of the top tier is Millie. Sure, Millie can't damage like Eris or Ronix, but no one heals better than her. In this way, she becomes a must-have for the best team setup in the game. Throwing on 3 physical attackers and letting Millie handle healing and buffing will result in what most would say is your best party makeup. Because of this, she makes her way into most playthroughs, and unlike Eris, you don't need to give up any characters to recruit her. The God tier. Roddick is the main character of the game and all in all, the basic template for a Star Ocean protagonist. He has the largest selection of special arts and his worm skills are so incredibly powerful that it's hard to find any fault here other than his reliance on recruiting Ashley. Overall, there's just simply no reason to not use him as your main offensive party member. Truly, if it wasn't for a single absolutely broken skill, he would have been at the top of this list. But he's not, as that place belongs to Mavel. Mavel is here for a single purpose. Galaxy is so broken that no one can argue her place on this list. She's simply in a class of her own as her damage potential can't even be touched by other party members. On top of this, she has many other useful skills and barring her squishiness, Mavel will be a staple in an optimal endgame party. And let's talk about that endgame party. Ideally, you'll want Millie and 3 physical attackers. Roddick, Ilia, and Mavel coupled with Millie are going to make up one of the better parties, though throwing in Eris, Caius, or even a late game powered Fia can make you successful. And that's our list. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you to all my Patreon members and to everyone who watched until the end. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you all later.